Roots of Chantal show, where we talk about beauty, health, fitness, and much more. So stay tuned because you are not going to want to miss this one.
Welcome to the Roots of Chantal show, guys, where we discuss natural healing and holistic methods. Today, I have a phenomenal guest. Her name is Miss Rachel, and she is from the Happy Uterus Academy. And she is going to talk about the question of, can you shrink fibroids or eliminate them altogether naturally? So we're going to jump right into it. Rachel, thank you so much for being here. And we are happy, very excited to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So Rachel, your story is quite incredible. Before we get into the juice, the tea, let's talk about your background and how you first discovered that you had uterine fibroids. And also tell our listeners who may not be aware of what uterine fibroids are, explain what they are and then how you discovered that you had them.
Absolutely. As a child, I wasn't a kid who was really sick. I was actually serving in the Army when I discovered I had fibroids. Fibroids are essentially fibrous tissue that finds an empty space in a body. It's essentially toxins, and then it dwells in the uterus. So every time I would run hard while doing physical training, I would experience some vaginal bleeding. It wasn't heavy or anything. It was really light. I would go to sick call or the Army's hospital, and they didn't know what the issue was. So one year I deployed to Afghanistan and same thing happened. I would run hard, experience some vaginal bleeding. So I went to sick call there and they gave me a transvaginal ultrasound and said that I had 2 small cysts in my uterus. And so they told me it was very common and it was nothing that I had to worry about. So I didn't. That was back in 2007. So fast forward to 2012, I felt this kicking sensation in my abdomen area. And so I went to the doctor's office and she checked me and diagnosed me with fibroids. When I got an ultrasound done, they said I had 2 fibroids they were medium sized. So she said I had 2 medium sized fibroids in my uterus.
Give us an example of what medium size would look like. So like if we don't know, what would a small fibroid or cyst look like compared to a large or medium sized one?
So a small fibroid would be probably the size of a small grape, a really small grape. And then a medium size would be like a small lime. So by that, between those years, it grew some.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you discovered that now you're diagnosed with uterine fibroids and now you want to explore natural modalities. What first led to that? What made you decide to go into exploring it naturally as opposed to going the allopathic route?
Dr. Sebi. And if anyone doesn't know who he is, I would look him up on YouTube. So the reason why I chose the holistic route is because medical professionals couldn't tell me the cause of fibroids and how to avoid it. And the only solution seemed to be surgery. So I felt deep down there has to be another way. And after several studies and research on the topic, once the uterus gets cut open or penetrated, it weakens it. So once I started having kids, they would most likely give me a C-section, and I didn't want that. And not only that, once they remove the fibroids, it can also come back because they don't remove all the tissue in order to preserve your uterus, because doctors care more about your life than your uterus. So without your consent, if you're hemorrhaging too much during the operation, they'll go ahead and remove your entire uterus without your consent. So
wow. Right. And for those ladies who, maybe haven't had kids yet and they still want to have children, it's important to have that uterus and, keep it intact and as healthy as possible. And I want to touch on something else you mentioned too. You mentioned that if you were to do the surgery, you would most likely have to have a C-section when you have children. And not everyone understands the importance of having a vaginal birth. We know that, ladies, when we give birth, it's important to have a vaginal birth if you can, because there's beneficial bacteria in the vaginal canal it preps the baby and it allows for a healthier baby later on in life because they're coated with that good bacteria. So I just wanted to put that out there because some people might say, well, what's wrong with a C-section? There's nothing wrong with it. A lot of people have had a C-section, but can you tell us, was that your concern, or were there any other concerns with why you did not want to do surgery, and you want to maintain that uterus so you could have a vaginal birth?
Yes, that was definitely one of the main reasons too. I wanted a vaginal birth.
So now that we know you are exploring the holistic route, can you share some of the approaches or like natural remedies that you used in your journey to shrink the fibroids?
Yes, so the very first thing I did was cut out meat and dairy from my diet. I went cold turkey, no meat, no dairy. I ate more fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. I drank a lot of herbal teas and supplements. I took a lot of supplements. I did a lot of cleanses to detox the body of the fibroids naturally. I started juicing. I started making smoothies. I exercised to keep the blood flowing naturally through my body. And I also kept a positive attitude about everything. I kept myself happy and laughing a lot.
And that's good. That's important. And I was going to ask you, how did you stay motivated like throughout your journey? Because giving up meat, come on now. We like fried chicken. We like, we are both of Haitian descent. We like griot and, we like all that fried food that tastes so good, but it's not good for us. So like, how did you stay motivated in giving up all the good, we'll say good tasting foods?
Yes. So I kept my mind on the end result. I knew what I wanted, so I stayed focused on that. Seeing myself without fibroids was a must. I saw myself not going to the hospital anymore to get blood transfusions because I was going to the hospital to get blood transfusions. I saw myself not being fatigued anymore. I just saw myself the way I would be if I no longer had fibroids. It's also a mindset thing, and that really motivated me a lot.
I love that. I love that you said it's a mindset thing, and you talked about seeing yourself healthy. We're gonna kind of like dive off the deep end a little bit, but let's talk about the importance of seeing or visualizing yourself in a healthy state, and how you did that to really add, because a lot of people think it's just eat this or don't eat that, but it's a little deeper in regards to the connection that healing has with our mind and our mental state. Please tell us like what you did and what you would recommend.
Yeah, so I definitely saw myself healthy. I visualized the positive. I didn't focus on what I didn't want because I was experiencing it. So my faith had a lot to do with it, because despite how I was feeling and what I was going through, I still kept my mind and vision on the end goal of what I wanted. So that really helped a lot, because a lot of time when people aren't sick, they make themselves sick because they think something is wrong with them, and nothing really is wrong with them, So just like you can make yourself sick with your mindset, you can make yourself healthy with your mindset as well.
Talk about it. Let's talk about the placebo effect and the nocebo effect, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that and that is so true, because a lot of the times we think about what we don't want to happen. I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be alone. I don't want this. I don't want that. But our mind does not realize that we're saying we don't want. It just hears the broke, the sick, the single. It just hears that. So we got to be so, I guess, self-aware to talk about and focus and think about what we want, as opposed to not, what we don't want. So I love that you touched on that. And then let's go into stress. Like, what is the role of stress in regards to like healing? And did you have any special like techniques that helped you deal with stress?
Absolutely. Keep it low. That's with any illness and life in general. Keeping stress low can help keep diseases away. Don't take things personal. Don't take anything personal. Just like live your life happy as much as you can, and laugh often, laugh a lot, and stay in prayer, continue to pray and express gratitude for your healing, or whatever illness you may be facing. So just because you don't see yourself healed at the moment, you can still be grateful and thank God that you are healed, you know? So it's like I said, it's a lot of mindset and faith, you know, that comes into play when it comes to healing.
I love that. I love that. And it makes me think of Norman Cousins. The and I'm trying to remember. That's a guy, right? Norman Cousins. And I'm not going to say he healed himself of cancer because we can't say that.
Yeah.
But he watched like a bunch of funny movies and comedies, I want to say for like 6 months or so. And I don't think he was, and I'm not sure, so don't quote me, but I don't think he was taking anything, but he was just simply watching funny movies and comedies, and his cancer mysteriously disappeared.
Yes.
I'm not saying anything healed it, but I think there might be something, to really look into with the power of the mind and being positive and thinking positive, because, like when we think negative thoughts, and let me talk about our girl, Dr. Caroline Leaf. She is the truth.
Yeah.
And she does explain a lot about how our thoughts create these negative thoughts can create these she calls them branches, right?
Yes.
Or leaves of the trees or something like that. She compares the connections in our brain. And I might be saying this a little off, but basically, long story short, when we think positive thoughts, there's biological and chemical reactions that take place in our body that allow for healing. But when we think negative thoughts and we're in stress, it's like it causes chaos and literally causes our body to go into dis-ease.
Yes.
And it doesn't allow us to heal.
Right.
And I want to say, like, physicians say that like 80% of doctor visits are stress related. So that just goes to show how important the mind is. So yeah, that's very, very, very interesting.
Yes.
So y'all heard it. Rachel used a lot of these technique. Matter of fact, did you use any like meditation techniques or anything special in regards to like going deeper into the mind aspect?
Yeah, I definitely did, which went along with my visualization. I would often try to keep myself calm and at peace and try not to think of anything, but I would also see my body being healed, so I would just go in my room, just keep quiet, listen, and just visualize my healing.
So, and I'm really interested in that. Like, how, for our listeners who might be struggling with fibroids or any condition, how would you explain visualizing your healing? Like, so is it like seeing the fibroids gone in the uterus? Is that how you did it?
Yeah, that's one way. You can literally see yourself taking the fibroids out of your body. That's one way. I did that. I saw myself. I just laid down on the bed and, saw myself. So it was like two of me. So I'm just like, so it's like I'm performing like a spiritual surgery, So I saw myself, taking the fibroids out of my uterus and placing it on the bed one by one, because the doctor said I had more than 7. So it was too many to count. So I was like, no, I don't accept it. That's what they said, but I don't accept it. So I saw myself performing my own spiritual surgery, removing the fibroids out of my body.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that. That is awesome. That is dope. I love it. I love it. And now you said 7, but I remember we were talking and you mentioned you had 2. So let's fast forward to the point where you went from 2 fibroids, or was it cyst? Was it 2 cysts or 2 fibroids in the beginning?
I had 1 cyst on each of my ovaries, and then I had more than 7 fibroids.
Oh, wow. Wow. So talk to us. Okay. So when did you discover that you had 7 fibroids?
So I went and got an MRI done, and that's when I saw my uterus, the fibroids, and supposedly, more than 7 fibroids. And that's when it was put on paper. So I guess it kind of confirmed it, but I still didn't want to believe it because, I wanted to heal. I wanted my body to heal.
So, okay, let's go into supplements and herbs and other like alternative therapies. And before we discuss that, I just want to put a disclaimer out there. This podcast is not intended to treat, prevent, cure any condition or illness. We're simply just talking about experiences, and this is for educational purposes only. So now, with that being said, let's talk about the specific supplements or herbs that you may have used.
Right. So there are specific herbs and supplements that were very helpful. Those are listed in my programs. So we can talk about that a little later.
Oh, got okay. We got you. So there are some herbs. Can you give us maybe one or two just as a little teaser? If
Yeah.
you're if you want, just so
Sure,
you know,
sure.
someone who's listening, maybe they can at least get started in incorporating that into
Yeah.
their diet.
So chase tree berry is a very good herb for that caters to the reproductive organs. So that's very helpful. Burdock root is really good. Dandelion root, that's really good. Sea
Okay.
moss, sea moss is really good.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. And guys, when we're gonna dive a little deeper into Rachel's program, but we're gonna leave that for later in the episode. So please stay tuned, keep watching, and in that you will get all the herbs and everything that she used to facilitate her healing journey. All right, so Lau, let's talk about self advocacy in healthcare being so crucial, so critical. Can you share any other insights that you, I guess, considered to empower you to make informed choices about your health? Because we know, like a lot of times with natural health, we kind of are experimenting on ourselves with our own
Yes.
bodies. Is there anything, any tools or resources that you use to make safe and informed decisions?
Right. Yes. So before I do answer that question, you did ask about some alternative therapies. I have two that I want to talk about real quick, and one of them is acupuncture. Acupuncture was very helpful. I did it several times, and it really helped me. Another thing I did was the UFE. UFE is also stands for uterine fibroid embolization. And, I was diagnosed, like I said, with more than 7 fibroids, the largest being the size of a newborn baby's head, because by that time it had grown.
Wow.
So, yeah, when I got the UFE done.
Wow.
So, when they went in to do the UFE, they basically cut the blood supply of the fibroids. And when they did that, they cut the blood supply to 2 fibroids because 2 of them were already starved to death and they couldn't find the other ones. Remember, I said I had more than 7, so all they saw was 2. So,
What?
yeah. So,
Wow.
so basically, I actually eliminated the other fibroids as if I was giving birth to a child.
Wow. Oh my God. That's insane. That's crazy. Okay. So
Yeah.
just to make sure I'm understanding, let's backtrack here.
Okay.
So you started with natural and holistic methods.
Yes.
And then you had this you did acupuncture, you said, and that was very helpful. And then also this therapy that you did. Now, let me, is this an allopathic thing? Is this a surgery or
It's not a surgery. It's basically they go in through your vein or your femoral vein, the veins in your legs, and then they just stop the blood supply to the uterus. So they didn't cut me open. They didn't
oh,
penetrate my uterus or anything like that. So they go in through your vein. They can go through your
really?
radial vein, which is the vein in the arm, or your femoral vein, which is the vein in your leg. But since it's closer to the uterus, they went in through my femoral veins
Interesting. Okay, so they cut the blood supply off to your uterus.
to the
But
fibroid.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, to the fibroids. So they
Yeah.
cut the blood supply off to the fibroids.
Mhm.
Before they did that, were there before when they checked, were there 7 at that time? Or
No, at that time, I had already released some and starved
okay,
some to death. Yeah. So after,
gotcha.
yeah, so after they did the UFE, they gave me another MRI and they noticed that the 2 that they cut off was completely dead. And then the others, the more than 7 was already gone because I eliminated them.
Wow. Okay. So I'm sorry. I got it now. So before you went in for that procedure through the vein,
Mhm.
you had already gotten rid of them. You
Yes.
now did you what was that like? Did you know that you had gotten rid of them or
No, I didn't know until a little later. Yeah, I didn't know.
wow, wow. Okay. All right. Well, we definitely want to hear more about that.
Yeah.
And how, I guess at the when did you so when you were at that procedure when they did the second MRI
Mhm.
and like how did you feel when you heard that there's only 2 in the like how what was your thought process?
It was pretty amazing because he showed me like a before and after MRI the doctor did, and you see where like my stomach was like big. I was laying on my back and you could see my stomach raised because of the fibroids. And then the second MRI, you could see where my stomach was flat now because the actual bigger fibroid was gone. And the doctor, he was pretty amazed himself. He was very surprised. He even asked if he could use my story or my the history for educational purposes. I'll be completely anonymous, and they won't use my name or anything. And I told him, yeah, you could. It was amazing.
That is amazing. That is truly remarkable because, I know some women who have already had their uterus removed, and this was years ago. Most doctors, most medical doctors, they don't tell the patients, hey, take some herbs and relieve your stress, and they might tell you, manage your stress and exercise, but for the most part they can't because their license is on the line. And so a lot of the time most women, they think their only option is surgery, and these fibroids can get huge and be very painful and cause heavy bleeding. And so yeah, it's something that it's very unfortunate because it almost immobilizes you, when you can't, you're in pain and you can't move and you're bleeding constantly. And it's interesting that I found out, I did not know this, but Black women, we are affected more up to, and I don't know if you have the statistics or not, but I want to say it's very, very high.
Yeah, over 60% more
Wow.
likely. Yeah.
Right. And that's crazy. Do you know, like what that might be? Is it genetics? Is it environmental?
It seems like it's genetics. A lot of doctors, say it's genetics and stuff, but it seems like that because my mom did have fibroids. They gave her a full hysterectomy. My grandmother, her mother had fibroids too, same thing. And I was like, no, it stops here. But it seems genetic because we're eating the same way, So what my mom ate, what her mom ate, I'm eating too. So that's why it seems genetic, but most of it is mindset and environmental, the foods that we eat. They're not, very healthy for us. And a lot of the soil in America is depleted of nutrients, so that's why we have to supplement with other vitamins, vitamin C, vitamin D, because we're not getting it where we should be getting it, which is through the foods.
Right. And I love the fact that you said it stops with me. I love that because a lot of people will say, you know what, my mother had it, my grandmother had it. I'm just predisposed to having it, and that it is what it is. And I love the fact that you said, nope, not gonna happen. It stops with me. And you were consistent and you were adamant, and you knew that you were gonna achieve your healing, and you did. Also, I wanted to talk about you mentioned something about the soil and our soils being very deficient in minerals and vitamins. Talk to us, if you can, about the link of fibroids and vitamin D deficiency.
Yes. So a lot of people think vitamin D, I mean, it's in the name, is a vitamin, but it's really a hormone that we create, internally. And, when we get enough sun, our vitamin D levels are up and normal. And a lot of minorities, especially African American people, we don't like to be in the sun, so we're not getting the vitamin D that we should be getting. All you have to do is like work out or go take a walk for like 30 minutes in the morning or something, but getting that sunlight is very important for us. To go back to your question on the idea of self-advocacy, I'm a pretty self-motivating person. I was in the healthcare field and I saw that doctors were doing just what they say, practice medicine. They practice medicine. So they weren't curing anyone, only helping alleviate symptoms. And that wasn't enough for me. So I just took matters into my own hands and, found a holistic route to heal myself.
Love that. I love that. And sometimes that's what we have to do. And again, this is not telling anyone to not follow their doctor's orders. Please, if you're under the care of a physician, make sure you follow your physician's orders. However, also remember you have a mind of your own as well. There's a lot of resources out there. There's a lot of tools that can facilitate your healing. And so, incorporating a healthy diet, incorporating exercise, meditation, prayer, acupuncture, things like that. We're not saying to replace the care of your medical doctor, what the advice they're giving, but to incorporate those, and of course, be careful with anything you do. You have to do your research. You have to know your body. If you're taking any medications, you have to make sure nothing counter interacts with that, especially when you're dealing with herbs and natural remedies, because those things can be very powerful, very, very potent. So I think this is amazing, Rachel. I'm like so excited. I can't wait to get your book, because I also know that a lot of women can have fibroids and have no symptoms at all. So I would say, hey, why not do preventative measures, just in case, because, they grow. You don't, by the time you realize that they're there and they're growing, it's usually when they're causing pain, or they're detected on, what is it, MRI scan usually.
Yes.
So, hey, ladies, let's take matters into our own hands. And for the guys watching, please be sure to share this podcast with your mothers, your daughters, your sisters, your aunts, any women in your family, because this is very important, because this can be very painful and debilitating. But there is a way to shrink these things and even eliminate them naturally. So with that being said, Rachel, we have some exciting news for our listeners. I think this might be the part where a lot of people have been waiting for. You have an academy called THUA, THUA, which stands for the Happy Uterus Academy. Please tell us a little more about that and how our listeners can connect with you there.
Yes. So I have started a coaching program where I help women get rid of fibroids holistically. My program is called the Happy Uterus Academy because that's the goal, a happy uterus. They can follow me on at the Happy Uterus Academy on Instagram, and in my bio, they can click on the link where they can get a free consultation call with myself, so they too can get the healing that they deserve.
That's wonderful. You guys heard it. Free consultation. That is awesome. I recommend anyone dealing with it and dealing with fibroids and maybe considering surgery, call Rachel, have a consultation with her and see, maybe there might be other options that you can explore. So that is great. And then Rachel, can you give us just a little teeny tiny insight of what people can expect when they take your program?
Yeah, so we will cover all the aspects and all the things that I've gone through to heal myself. So I was like my guinea pig. So it took longer, that because I was trying different things. I was doing a lot of research, but they can expect to get my exact plan of what I did to heal myself holistically, and, to get coaching calls with me to make sure, we're on the right track. And, I will be their accountability partner to make sure they get the healing that they deserve, because people can do things on their own, but when they have someone keeping them accountable, it's more effective.
Absolutely. That just like going to the gym. It's like we could start, New Year's resolution. We can go by ourselves a couple days or weeks. But after a while, it's like when we don't have that accountability partner, we tend to fall off. So I love that. That is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So we are going to dive a little deeper, because this is not the only thing you do. You are truly an entrepreneur at heart, and you have a natural hair care product or hair care line with different products. Can you tell us a little bit about Glamour Boulevard?
Yes. So Glamour Boulevard is a vegan hair care line. And I actually started that vegan hair care line because of my issues with fibroids. Being health conscious, I became aware of what I was putting on my body. So I was looking for something to moisturize my hair, and I couldn't find anything on the market that didn't have some kind of chemical in it. So I created my own, started with a hair butter, and I was using that on my Instagram page. I went on there. It was dedicated mostly for hair. And so I just posted that, hey, I created this hair butter, and with no intentions of selling at all. But then some people started DMing me, and, they were asking me, hey, if you sell it to me, I'll buy it. So that's really how that started. So they can also follow me on Instagram under at Glamour Boulevard, or under my personal page, which is at Rachel_I_M_love.
And we'll be sure to put all of Rachel's contact information in the show notes. Now I'm going to ask you a little, not trick question, but if you had to choose between, and we know vegetables and fruits are both amazing, but if you had to choose to eliminate one, or just let's say focus on one, either do a vegetable diet, like, or fast where you're eating nothing but vegetables for a week, or you're doing nothing but fruits for a week, which one would it be, vegetables or fruit, and why?
I would do fruits. And, to the listeners, they might say, oh, that's too much sugar, but fruits actually detox the body, whereas vegetables build up the body. So if I'm trying to get rid of an illness, specifically fibroids, I would do a fruit detox, because I know that's going to eliminate the fibroids. It's going to help eliminate the fibroids from my body. So I'm in detox mode. So that's the reason why I say I would do fruits, because, I know I'm healing my body by doing that.
Absolutely. And I picked the same thing. And I asked you that because I recently learned that also, that fruits, like you said, they detox, they cleanse, and vegetables build. So they're both great, but depending on what it is you're trying to do, cleansing, go with fruits, guys, all the way.
Yes.
All right. Well, also, I do want to touch on, like I said, you are in everything. You also have a children's Read Aloud channel on YouTube where you read to children, and that is going really well. Please tell the parents out there who have young children about that and how they can find you.
Yes, so I'm on YouTube. My channel is called Rachel's Read Aloud, where I read a book every week to children all over the world. So they can subscribe to my channel, and a new book is uploaded every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for being on the show. It was a pleasure having you. Thank you for sharing your insights with all of our listeners. And we definitely look forward to having you again on the show. And like I said, we will be sure to put all your all your information, your contact info in the show notes. And if there's anything that you want to say or piece of advice, what would you leave our listeners with who either A, might be struggling with fibroids, or B, who aren't struggling with fibroids, but just want to live a healthy lifestyle in general?
I would say be more health conscious and take care of your body. We only have one body to take care of, and no one is going to take care of your body more than you are going to take care of your body. So, and that's with everything, and finally, to eat to live and not live to eat.
Absolutely. I agree. Well, Rachel, thank you so much. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Stay tuned to another empowering episode on the Roots of Chantal Show.
Welcome to the Roots of Chantal Show, where we talk about beauty, health, fitness, and much